Camera. What is it? Roll 'em.
Well, good morning and welcome to The Crew, part of the Next Chapter Woman podcast series. This is a place where real women have real conversations about real things in our lives in our next chapter. So that's what we're about. So unscripted, well, we've thought about it actually. Unscripted, but real. So today I've got joining me Anne and Pen.
Right.
Sometimes I call her Penny. And Janet. Hey, Jan. So, to get those butterflies in formation, what we're going to do is just a one word warm up. It's hard to say. What's one word for how you would describe yourself today?
Tired.
I'll second that. I'm a little tired today.
Oh, I went quite deep on this, I think. Anyway, I had a description of myself today as being resourceful.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Yes. Mm. It
Well, I'm
wasn't
excited.
you're excited.
I'm
Okay.
excited. That's one word. There we go. So today we're diving into solo living, and whether that's by choice or by circumstance. And we want to explore, how does that feel? How does that feel and how does it look for you now? And maybe even a little bit about how that compares to how you thought it was going to be at this stage of life. Interestingly, all of us on the panel today are single, but I'm thinking we also might have visitors watching us and wanting to participate down in the comments. Go ahead, you can do that. So, and that maybe they're not single. So the question for those viewers would be, how when you were younger did you think it might be if you were single at this stage of your life or in this chapter? And then secondly, so you are in your next chapter, but you're still alone, so you might have a friend. You might be able to think about how it is for them now that they're in that time. So let's turn it over to our round table. Whether or not we've got a cup of coffee on that table, I don't know, but let's get a little
Cheers.
bit personal to kick us off and to get rid of those butterflies that are going on there. So, when you were younger, how did you picture your life living solo at this stage in your life? And how does that reality compare? No, how does your reality compare to that picture?
I'll step in and I'll say I was always a future oriented person, whether I'm 15, 50, or no, maybe not 55, but when I'm 15 or 25 or 35. However, it never occurred to me to think of myself as solo. It really didn't. So, yeah, I didn't actually picture myself at this age at all. It's not that I thought I would be dead, but I actually didn't picture myself at this age. So I I didn't even, yeah, no, didn't even think about it.
Well, I will jump in after you, Anne, and concur with you. I gave this some thought, and I realized it didn't even cross my mind to be solo. Not that it was something that I even considered. I think we can probably all appreciate when you're young, a young woman or a young person. The idea of becoming a senior, first of all, was not even in my radar, let alone being solo.
Yeah.
So no, I must say I agree with you, Anne. It didn't even cross my mind.
Okay, I'll jump in. I was raised by a very traditional mother in a rural community, and the expectation was that you would get out of high school, possibly go to university, meet the man of your love, and get married, have your children, and that would be the rest of your life. And so I followed the first part of that. I went to university, found the right guy, got married, had a couple of kids. Um, that lasted for 13 years, and that's fine. Um, but before that, when I was younger, the concept of being solo at any age beyond university was just incomprehensible. That wasn't what you did. You got married, you stayed married, and so now I don't consider myself living solo. I have a 13-year-old dog. I got her as a puppy. She's my constant companion, unconditional love. So that's where I'm at right now. But it certainly was outside of any concept I had when I was younger.
And I will jump in here with my just really short thing, but I was really upset one time, well, numerous times, a number of years ago. And in that upset time, I went for a walk in downtown in the city that I live in. And as I was walking, I was just in this turmoil. I didn't even know where I was necessarily in the downtown district of my city. And I'm just alone. And I was married, right? Still married. And I'm just alone. And I don't know about everyone else, but there are just some times when, call it that a higher power or that whatever that is, taps you on the shoulder and goes, and I actually heard this voice in my head, and the voice said, Diane, you've always been alone. And I go, oh, okay. And then I looked around and I was in this seedy part of downtown. I thought, well, I guess I better get the dickens out of here. But yes, Diane, you've always been alone. Even though I was married, I was alone. So I don't know how to describe that any more than what it was. So when the separation time actually came, there was still some grieving and at a loss of, that other person not coming for supper. But the feeling of being alone, it didn't change. It had always been there. So there you go. We can analyze that.
Well, I don't know if you want me to jump in, but
Sure.
one of the things is that being alone, or the feeling of being alone, when you're in a relationship, can actually be worse than being alone when you are solo. And I I never felt that when I was in my relationships, but looking back on it as a very independent person, um, I think, and one of the things about aging and all of those things is also about you are always alone, and that doesn't feel a bad thing. Yeah, can't quite describe that at the moment. I'm not awake enough.
Yeah, I know. And so I'm interested. What I expect can happen sometimes in our times together on the crew is that, yeah, I mean, if there is something that you want to respond to, please don't hesitate to jump right in. The point here is that, when we think out loud, sometimes we hear things ourselves that isn't that interesting, and it's nice to have some feedback from a caring group of people. And I hope that as we grow with viewers that we're able to keep that conversation going down there in the comment section. So all right, okay, round two, it's realities and surprises. So what's been your biggest unexpected challenge in this chapter of your life?
Changing the fire alarms. I know these, I mean, it sounds trivial and it is trivial. But if I look at the unexpected things, The unexpected things are the trivial things. Yeah.
Thanks, Anna, and I concur. And I'm too short to change mine, so I have to call in help. And
Yeah.
the constant beeping telling me that it needs to be changed was irritating, and so I called in some help. Um,
Yeah.
I found a quote from Baby Yoda, of course, and it really I think does apply here in this conversation. It says, "I'm tired of being the only one who cleans, pays the bills, cooks every day, and does the dishes in this house. I am the backbone of this family. I live alone, but still."
Mm. Mm.
And in many ways, you know, it can get tiresome not having someone who helps out. And I live in a one bedroom apartment. It's not only I used to live in a very old home, but um, it does get a bit tiresome at times. And quite honestly, I refuse to pay someone else to wash my floors.
Yeah.
Well, I think I went to, I'm obviously more philosophical today than the rest of you. Um, I have found that my biggest unexpected challenge has been navigating the new relationship with my ex-husband. And my hope was to establish a mutual friendship with him. That was always my goal. However, that has proved to be very challenging. And as time, I've been on my own now, I guess just over 2 years, and as time has gone on, I've come to realize that for a woman, it's probably very different than for a man. And friendships to women are obviously very different than friendships to men. Um, I'm still working on that, and that is still my hope and my intention. Because for the sake of the family, grandchildren, and children, I would like to continue with a respectful and kind relationship with my ex-husband without any animosity. That's my hope. So yeah, a little more philosophical probably than the rest of it. How about you, Diane?
Um, Barbecuing. I don't barbecue. So and changing the oil on my car. That's really those aren't unexpected challenges. Those are always challenges that I've had. I mean, I just don't do those things. But it's nice to have somebody around who does them.
Yeah, I
But
think that's what it is. It's those things that I didn't used to do in my relationships, and I didn't used to do them because I don't want to do them. So silly little things. I remember vividly, even how silly this is, right? I talk about being trivial, but I remember vividly when my husband left. One of the things that pissed me off the most in those first few days, weeks, whatever it was cleaning the kettle. Now that sounds nuts, right? Just cleaning the kettle. But these days, it's those things that take somebody taller than me, which is the bloody thing in the ceiling, and and techie things. Although I consider myself a geek, there are techie things which now overwhelm me. I mean, I've just got a new television and I've just got a new phone, and have I got them working yet? No, it's been at least a week. It's those things. It's just I don't have the heart for things like that. Um, and I want to stick my head in the sand and say I couldn't be bothered. That's how it is right now.
so, are there any unforeseen or unexpected joys, I guess, or yeah, joys or freedoms that you have in this chapter now that you've discovered?
Anybody
Nobody
else want to
has it.
jump in before me? Because of course I always jump in. So go ahead.
Well, I find the sense of freedom in the ability to make my own independent decisions about how I spend my time, how I spend my money. Um, but maybe on a lighter note, something that brought me a great deal of joy yesterday was I still have a yard that I look after. And I think Anne alluded to this, doing all these, domestic repairs and so on. But my whippersnipper ran out of rope or whatever you twine or whatever that's. And I was so proud of myself because I went on YouTube and I found a dictorial on how to, or if is that the right word, on how to do this. And I watched it 3 times, and then I went out to the garage and I took this whole thing apart and retwined it, and it worked.
Yay!
So I that's definitely a real big leap of faith for me because I've never ever had to deal with any of those kind of repair items, and it was so rewarding and satisfying. Um, but yes, um, there is definitely something to be said for the independence of making your own decisions about your time. Um, that I probably didn't expect, but it's quite satisfying actually.
Good for you, Jan. I used to be the man of the house and do all the fixing and do all of those repairs. It was just sort of in my genes that I did a lot of that stuff. But good on you. That's great to hear that you learned and
Thank you.
succeeded.
And
Um, Gosh, I concur the independence, the ability to get up in the morning and or not. Um, Staying in bed with a cup of coffee and a good book till whenever I darn well please is a nice thing. But deciding, okay, this is what I'm going to do with today, and it's what I want to do. I'm not complying with someone else's wishes. I'm not getting up and going to work um, and having to be at work for a certain time and staying there forever. I don't have to do any of those things. So it is my choice, and that's it's freeing, but it's also challenging because I can also um, decide to do absolutely nothing, and by the end of the day, feel very unfulfilled that I've accomplished diddly squat, and it's just not something that I had hoped to accomplish at this stage in my life because every day is precious, and I think I feel that I shouldn't be wasting my time doing absolutely nothing except curling up with a book and spending my whole day doing that. So, but that's my choice.
I like curling up all day with. That's one of the joys about being, I guess, well, I don't consider I'm retired. My life hasn't changed a whole lot from what it was before, but that's one of the, well, I guess one of the things that is a bit of a joy is that I don't have to I don't it's a blessing and it's a curse at the same time. I don't have to check in with someone else to see that it's okay that I XYZ. I get to make those decisions, so that's a blessing, but it's also a curse because when you've done 50, 55 years with one person, that that okay, well, I can check it, not that I had to, but that I can, and then when that's over, then for me, it was actually a joy, a blessing to be able to not be able to, but to reach out to others, and when that's important, and I know that it's that I need to, I guess, to reach out and to have somebody close to share things with. I guess that's putting that. So that's a joy. I never did that before much, unless because my sister and my mom are gone. So I used to do that with them all the time. So finding out that I can do that, and it's just with others, not with my sister and my mom. So it's been a learning experience, and quite a pleasant experience for me.
I
So
think.
if we can
Sorry.
take one, I'm sorry, did somebody
Oh,
have
I was
something?
just going to,
Go ahead.
burble in there,
Yes,
and
please.
I think, as I hear others talking, totally agree in one way. I think a surprising. I'm realizing how surprising it was to me, because as somebody who considers herself to be very self-referenced and not a people pleaser, I was very surprised to find how much of my life I had lived not under the shadow, but in the consideration of another person in my life. So, oh, thinking about what they would like to eat when they come home for dinner, thinking about how the day is going to look or what we need to do for the weekend. And ridiculous as this might sound, I have asthma and I don't like to cough around people. And now I can cough whenever I like. And the same thing obviously also goes for burping and farting. So I can just be me in any moment. And as we're talking, I realize how surprising I am to find out how considerate I was to other people. And the freedom that I have now is part of how I define success for myself. And so I feel very successful because I have that freedom um, to spend my day in a housecoat if I want to. That's my definition of happiness in the day. Yeah. That was a surprise, Diane.
That was not to rate things, but that was a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we sort of, me, I've got my where I think I want to go during the session, but sometimes we cover things and have second thoughts or observations that come out, light bulbs that go on. So as we come to a close, I want to do kind of two things at one time. I'm looking for we call it one line to leave with, not live with, but leave with. So you got it. You've got your opportunity. So a reflection or something funny or an observation or just something, but that one line to leave with.
I'm alone but not lonely.
Well, Diane, as you said, one like a light bulb, it's another thing I can't reach to change.
Yep.
For me, I think if there's moments of challenging moments of being somewhat dark moments or sad moments, I have a new philosophy: this too shall pass, and it always does.
Mm-hmm.
It always does. There's always sunshine after the rain.
Yep. And sometimes we just need to let them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, everyone, I just want to thank you for joining us, joining the crew, and remind you that we'll be back again and next time with more real talk. And until then, keep writing your next chapter and join in the conversation in the comments below. We want to hear from you.